Yo, this is like the first time in a long time, or where after I've been like reading a character's backstory, or like even during when I'm reading it, that I'm like super locked in because I'm just like, what is happening? What? There are so many things like that are being expanded on, there are so many things that are being revealed and stuff. And I know that we're like heading towards Genshin endgame story and whatnot, but I feel like this backstory about Skirk just like took things up a whole notch, just took a giant leap forward in terms of what we know about the world and beyond the world of Teyvat. So I want to talk about this because it is very mesmerizing and insane, what have you. So I'm on Project Amber because I don't have Skirk. I don't plan on getting Skirk on my account, so I'm not gonna have access to the character details besides just looking it up online. So here we are. The Skirk's backstory, or rather Skirk's story quest and the 5.7 Archon quest are next. I'm gonna be playing through those, probably make a video on them, but I just want to talk about Skirk's backstory because this is some next level universal defining stuff. So anyways, let's get back into this. So basically, there's some character details that introduce Skirk, such as some of the stories that Tatalia or Child talks about with Skirk, just like how the way that Skirk trains him, and then how she's kind of maybe bad at cooking because she only has access to abyssal food. Anyways, it's mainly like Skirk's backstory and how she arrived into Teyvat that's quite fascinating. Okay, let's start with character story 1. It's quite the gruesome and dark backstory. So essentially, Skirk is from another planet, and her civilization has realized that, wow, there is just an infinite number of people and universes and infinite number of civilizations in their universe. So they're aware that they're on a planet and there are things in the universe, right? But then pretty much her entire civilization of people go extinct because some kind of order or force group of people, I assume, just destroyed her planet, making literally everything extinct except for Skirk herself. She is the only living thing from her planet that is remaining. And she didn't even get out in one piece. She got out, but she lost an arm and her limb. Very dark, and pretty much the one that awakens her is Surtalogi, one of the 5 sinners of Conria. And what I find quite interesting about this is that when she wakes up from being saved by Surtalogi, there's essentially this one question that he asks her, which is, hey, do you want to live or do you want to die? And it seems like, after reading the entire backstory of Skirk, that this is like kind of the basis of her character. It's that she's just dying and kind of has no other choice but to like live, even though everyone from her planet has been destroyed. So it's like, yeah, generally characters always strive to keep living forward, but then for this one, like, Skirk didn't really even have a choice in the matter. It's just that it feels like it might have been even forced upon her just from reading about this, because like there's like nothing to think about at all. So it kind of forms like a crux for a character that I'll talk about later on. Okay, so moving on to character 2, now that Skirk has been stabilized, she has some dialogue with Surtalogi, just generally asking, hey, why am I alive? Is anyone else alive? And no, Skirk, your parents have died, every one of your people has died. And of course, a natural thing to ask is, well, why? Why was I the only one that survived? Why was it me? There's probably like a lot of survivor's guilt that I don't know exactly if she'll feel that, but essentially what Surtalogi mentions is that, well, it's because your people, they've been involved with the Abyss. Your people have been trying to study the Abyss and potentially could have used the power of the Abyss, which is sort of hinted at as a reason as to why her civilization was destroyed, because of their potential to use the Abyss. And the last pieces of dialogue here is essentially sets the tone as to what Surtalogi, Skirk, and then also Child eventually all connect on, which is strength. The ability to become stronger, utilizing whatever power you can. Okay, and then on to character story 3. He goes on to train Skirk, and pretty much just It's kind of dark here too because her body is being broken every day, but then he just like instantly revitalizes it. So she's like good to go the next day to keep on training. And here's where it gets like really fascinating because just in character story 3, you know how in Genshin we've been lately talking about the 3 moons of Teyvat and slowly expanding upon the sky. Nod Cries literally a region being injected to expand upon the lore that hasn't really been utilized well into the main story. Well, in Skirk's backstory, they're literally telling us that Surtalogi and Skirk just travels through the universe. They're not even in Teyvat yet, by the way. Like, Surtalogi is from Conria, but they're just traveling across the universe. And this is just casually mentioned in the story here. In fact, Surtalogi is so powerful that as he travels through the universe, he is literally devouring everything in his way. A star system, a civilization, any kind of being that has power, he just devours them and just crushes and consumes. And it's like, wait, what? So we know that, you know, sinners from Conria are powerful, but like they're just scoped in Teyvat for the most part, right? But now we're having Surtalogi being projected onto like a universal scaling level. Like, he's destroying things across the galaxy. And it's wild because it's like, how is Celestia even a threat if we have a sinner that's just crushing everything in the known universe? Like, what the heck? This is wild to me. This is just wild to me. And Skirk is, by the way, she's just witnessing all of this, right? She's like, oh wow, like none of these people that we're encountering are even forcing Surtalogi to use his true power at all. He's only using 10% of his power. But essentially what we're learning is that Surtalogi is someone who just wants to devour. And I suppose that that's something that having the power of the Abyss helps you with. Which, by the way, also expands the Abyss itself as to something way broader than Teyvat. So this is like a universally affected power as well. Like the Abyss just encompasses maybe everything in the universe. It's literally just maybe the chaos of the universe or something like that. So yeah, they're just getting stronger because they just destroy everything in their paths. And yeah, we end this story quest. We end this character story 3 asking, "Hey, Surtalogi, why did you decide to save Skirk back then?" You know, which kind of relates to the whole point of this, like when Skirk asks, "Hey, can you use this abyssal power to become stronger?" And then Surtalogi's eyes pretty much lit up because he's like, "Oh wait, maybe she's thinking something along the lines that I am." Which is the abyssal power, by the way. Which is something that, you know, the sinners of Conria became sinners because of their answering the call to use the power of the abyss. And Surtalogi says, "Oh, I saved you because it was just spontaneous. You know, no big deal." But I mean, of course I don't believe that. He even like mentions himself to be the greatest calamity in the entire universe. And hey, I believe you, man. I believe you. You're traveling across the universe and you're destroying everything. I believe you. This man is greater than Celestia. This man is stronger than Dainsleif. This man is stronger than the primordial one. Hey, what? I'll believe anything about this man. Surtalogi speaks, I listen. That's all I have to say there. But what I found super interesting about this line is that Surtalogi says, even though he's like the strongest, basically, he's afraid of getting bored. Even though he's getting all the power to control and do literally anything in the universe. And this reminds me of, I think in a lot of recent times, you have stories like Jujutsu Kaisen, where you have the concept of the strongest character, right? Like a Gojo Satoru, a Ryomen Sukuna. Even like from Re:Zero, there's Reinhardt, right? The strongest, right? A character is known as the strongest, and a common theme that's been associated with is, even though you're the strongest, you are also lonely because of it, because there's no one else to help match your power. There's no one else that can compete with you. And so it's lonely being at the top. And I feel like that might be something that is being explored here with Surtalogi. Skirk doesn't necessarily understand how something like this can be boring, right? Because it's like, you know, if you're the strongest, you can do anything you want. How can you be bored? So I find it a little Well, not a little, just like very fascinating that Surtalogi is just afraid of being bored. It's not that he's necessarily bored right now, it's that he's afraid of being bored. So I think that that just goes to show just how, again, how like terrifying this man is. So kind of in response to him being potentially bored, he thought of an idea of like, oh hey, maybe I can take on disciples. Because then I could train them to become strong as well so that they could potentially compete with me, which again goes into this whole like loneliness factor where you don't have competition, so he's creating the competition. I think this is why, like, if you look at the character teaser for Skirk, the one narrating is likely Surtalogi, and Surtalogi is saying, hey, if you wish to match me someday, just seek out more power. So this kind of goes hand in hand with that. It's like, he'll find it amusing, like, giving her everything, giving your student everything, and then just taking away all of that. Like, he'll find some amusement out of that. Oh, man. This guy, dude, if he's playable and his character silhouette design comes out, geez, like, it's gonna be something else. Like, this is the character that Dainsleif is trying to chase after, by the way. Like, Dainsleif is like, Surtalogi, I need to know where that man is. I need to, like, destroy him. And it's like, oh yeah, good luck destroying a universal scaling character, my man. Yeah, so it seems like this is gonna be like the eventual goal of Skirk. Skirk's story is essentially becoming stronger in order to defeat Surtalogi. But yeah, so Skirk's goal is just getting strong. She just wants strength. There's nothing else necessary in the world, it's just strength. The more strength she has, the closer she's gonna be to her goal. Which kind of fits in with Child, although I think Child's interpretation of strength is quite different from Surtalogi and Skirk's interpretation, which I find interesting. So anyways, on to character story 5. The main thing that I want to note about about this character story is that this is describing the reason as to why Skirk is in Teyvat. It's because she wants to find out more about what kind of world created someone like Surtalogi. Surtalogi is from Teyvat. Surtalogi is very, let's say, corrupt. So she's trying to look for the place that had give birth to this corrupt fruit that is Surtalogi. So I don't know exactly if that means finding Irminsul or finding some kind of other tree phenomenon, but that's essentially why she's in Teyvat. She wants to know more about Surtalogi's homeland. And here's the next part that is very mind-blowing to me, is that she is able to enter Teyvat because the one who manages the borders of Teyvat, which is Alice, by the way, like, Alice is the one that is allowing people to come in and out of Teyvat, which sets a lot of implications as to likely, Alice knowing the Traveler and their sibling coming in and out of Teyvat, and potentially why they're being kept here. So yeah, Alice let Skirk into Teyvat. They had a nice little chat. I'm sure they had a nice little tea party, and they said, hey, Alice, if you would please kindly let me travel to Teyvat and stay here for a little bit. I won't interfere with anything. Then Alice is like, cool. Yeah, as long as you don't interfere with the affairs of the planet, then you're good. And Skirk is like, cool, there we go. One thing to note is that you do not belong there, Skirk. It is not your home. And therefore, you get limited passage. So, this is like a line that I think strikes out to me because it's like, yeah, Skirk is a character that has no home anymore. Her planet was destroyed, her civilization was destroyed, and she has no people to return to. She has no home, so it's like, probably, I think, one of the things she may be thinking about is, well, where is home to her? Is there a new place that she can call home? It's pretty sad not having a place to go back to, right? You're just a forever wandering traveler, a wandering nomad. And I feel like that likely will get to people at some point. So I would expect that there will be some kind of plot point about how, hey, Skirk, like, where is home to you? That's basically it. I'm just looking at some of the quotes here. I'll just have them in the background, but what I find particularly interesting about Skirk is that I feel like Skirk, he doesn't really have like a motivation that she chooses necessarily, which I find to be sad. sometimes it's relatable to real life, right? Where I feel like I'm in a rut sometimes. I don't have goals or aspirations that I'm chasing, even though I want to, and it makes me a little sad inside. So I think it's good to have goals and things that you want to strive for. In Skirk's case, it's like, oh, I just want strength because that's like the only thing I know. It's kind of like the reason that I got saved, maybe because I have strength. And this purpose of having strength is to eventually kill my master, just because he'll find it potentially amusing. And I find that sad because it's like, dang, this character doesn't really have a goal that she personally is passionate about or trying to find, which is different than her disciple, Child. I find Child's connection to becoming stronger to be much more, like, let's say, inspiring than Skirk and Surtalogi's. It's more pure, right? Surtalogi's like, oh, I just want power just because, or I don't know, it's something I've just been doing. The Abyss gave me power. I might get bored though. Oh, that sucks. Skirk is like, well, I got saved by strength, so I guess I have to just keep on following my master's footsteps. For Child, it's sort of different though, because Child genuinely likes to fight. Like, the dude is like, I want to get stronger, I want to fight stronger people because that is enjoyable to him. Like, he thrives off of fighting, which I don't get the sense of from Skirk or Surtalogi, which I find to be like an interesting difference there with Child. So it's like, maybe Child is the one because he is supposedly has the it factor that Skirk mentions. Maybe Child could be someone that breaks this kind of cycle that may or may not be happening between Surtalogi, Skirk, and Child. But yeah, the overall, just like a lot of this stuff about Skirk's lore is, it's just something else, man. Oh, by the way, she also just like travels teyvat around from time to time. And so people have seen her, but, you know, no one's really mentioned her before in the game. But yeah, she's apparently been traveling. Oh, she's also traveled with Venti a little bit. She was hanging out in Mondstadt, and then what, Bard? And then probably this was Venti, and Venti said, hey, come get a drink with me. So likely Skirk and Venti have shared a drink together at the Angel Share, which is pretty cool. But all in all, it's like Skirk isn't meant to, let's say, participate into the affairs of teyvat. She shouldn't be messing with what's going on, which I think the implication there is that, hey, teyvat is some kind of like maybe experiment, or, you know, kind of going into a samsara, which was mentioned in one of Fontaine's world quests. So it's like, hey, teyvat might be an experiment going on where we're repeating things constantly. Skirk, don't mess with this because you're not from this world. And then, you know, that could relate to the Traveler, because the Traveler is also not from this world, and he's able to, or the Traveler is able to remember things that happen in the world, despite what Irminsul does. Yeah, I would just say this backstory about Skirk has been really fun to read. I haven't been this interested in a backstory for so long. And I just find it interesting that Genshin went from, hey, teyvat, there's a false guide, to, hey, wait, there's a sinner that is literally committing all sorts of things across the universe. So, like Surtalogi's not even in teyvat anymore. Surtalogi's just chilling in the universe. So that's what a sinner is capable of. Like, these sinners are insane. Like, Rhine-daughter, right? Albedo's mother or father figure? I think mother, right? Rhine-daughter absorbed one of the shades of life. Like, gee. Oh man. Anyways, I think that'll be it for this video. I'm very excited to play through this 5.7 Archon quest. I hope that we actually maintain our memories of the Traveler and their sibling meeting each other. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm going to also play through Skirk's story quest, and I think if it's interesting enough, maybe I'll make a video on it too. So yeah, that'll be it for this one. Thanks for listening to my rambling and yapping about this fascinating backstory and whatnot. So yeah, cool. Keep going. We keep going. Thank you. Bye-bye.